The credit card bill sat on my kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I'd been staring at it for 3 minutes, my coffee growing cold in my hands. Marcus was in the shower, humming some tune I didn't recognize anymore. Everything about him had become foreign to me lately. The late nights, the phone calls he took in the other room, the way he'd started buying cologne again after years of forgetting. My fingers trembled as I tore open the envelope. Standard charges at first. Grocery store. Gas station. Then my world tilted sideways.
Mistress Bridal Boutique.
$4,300. The air left my lungs. I read the line again. Then again. The numbers didn't change. The date was from last Tuesday. The day Marcus said he was working late. The day I'd stayed home with the flu, too sick to check my phone notifications. My hands went numb. The bill fluttered to the floor. Marcus emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist, still humming. He looked at me and his expression shifted. Not surprise. Not confusion. Something worse. Recognition. He smiled. Actually smiled. This slow, cruel curve of his lips that I'd never seen before in 15 years of marriage. Find something interesting? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The kitchen felt like it was closing in on me. He picked up the bill from the floor, his eyes scanning the page with theatrical concern. Oh, this old thing? His voice was light, conversational. Like we were discussing the weather. I meant to mention it. The words hit me like physical blows. Meant to mention it. As if using my credit card to buy his mistress a wedding dress was something that just slipped his mind. Who is she? My voice came out as a whisper. Her name's Christina. She's wonderful, Sarah. You'd probably like her if you met under different circumstances. He folded the bill neatly, set it back on the counter. She has excellent taste. $4,000 is actually quite reasonable for a designer dress. I gripped the edge of the counter to keep from falling. This wasn't the man I married. This wasn't the man who used to bring me flowers on random Tuesdays. Who cried during our wedding vows. Who promised to love me in sickness and in health. How long? The words scraped out of my throat. 2 years, he said it like he was proud. We're getting married next month. I was going to tell you after. After. Like I was some loose end to tie up. Some final detail to handle before he moved on to his real life. I want you out. My voice was steadier now. Anger was replacing the shock, filling the hollow spaces in my chest with something hot and sharp. Actually, I think you'll find that's not how this works. Marcus disappeared into the bedroom, came back fully dressed. Business casual. The same outfit he wore to court every day. He was a lawyer. Had been for 20 years. I'd forgotten how good he was at staying calm under pressure. How good he was at winning. I've already filed the paperwork, Sarah. Divorce proceedings start next week. And since you've been out of work for 6 months, I think you'll find the settlement terms quite generous. Assuming you don't make this difficult. The threat hung in the air between us. I'd been laid off from my marketing job in March. The company downsized. Bad economy. I'd been looking, but it was tough out there for someone pushing 40 with a gap in their resume. Marcus knew exactly how vulnerable that made me. How much I needed his income, his insurance, his stability. He kissed my forehead. Actually kissed me. Like he was saying goodbye to a child. The dress looked beautiful on her, by the way. Thank you for your contribution. Then he left for the office like it was any other Thursday morning. I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the debris of my marriage. The credit card bill on the counter. His coffee mug in the sink. The newspaper folded to the crossword puzzle he'd been working on. Everything looked the same, but nothing would ever be the same again. I picked up the bill and read it again.
Mistress Bridal Boutique.
I knew the place. Upscale shop downtown. The kind of place that required appointments and sold dreams wrapped in silk and lace. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Patterson? This is Jennifer from Bella's Bridal. I'm calling about the dress order from last week. We need to schedule the final fitting for Ms. Rivera.
Rivera. Cristina Rivera.
I had a name now. Actually, there's been a change of plans, I heard myself saying. I need to discuss some alterations to the order. Of course. Would you like to come in this afternoon? We have an opening at 3 inch. Perfect. I'll see you then. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the kitchen window. Somewhere in the past 2 hours, I'd stopped being the woman who got betrayed and started becoming someone else entirely. The morning crawled by in a haze of research and planning. I Googled Cristina Rivera, found her social media profiles. She was younger than me, not by much, but enough to matter. 28 to my 37. Dark hair where mine was blonde. Petite where I was average height. She worked in marketing too, ironically, for a tech startup downtown. Her Instagram was full of photos with Marcus. Dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. Weekend trips to places we'd once talked about visiting together. She'd been posting them for months. Tagged locations. Dated entries. A complete record of their relationship played out in carefully curated squares. The most recent post was from 3 days ago. A photo of her left hand displaying a diamond ring I didn't recognize. The caption read, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." Sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. Waiting for. Like I was some obstacle that had finally been removed. The comments were full of congratulations from people I didn't recognize. Marcus had liked the photo. So had several of our mutual friends. People who'd been at our wedding. People who'd known me for years. They all knew. Everyone knew except me. I closed the laptop and got dressed carefully. Black pants. White blouse. Hair pulled back in a neat bun. I looked professional. Conservative.
Trustworthy.
Bella's bridal was exactly what I expected. Soft lighting and mirrors everywhere. Dresses hanging like expensive ghosts along the walls. The kind of place where dreams came with price tags and payment plans. Jennifer turned out to be a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and perfect makeup. She led me to a private consultation room and pulled out a thick folder. The Rivera dress is one of our most popular designs this season. Excellent choice. The final fitting is scheduled for Monday, but if there are changes to discuss, we should handle them now. She opened the folder and showed me photos of the dress. It was beautiful, I had to admit. Elegant and simple. The kind of dress I might have chosen myself in another life. There's actually been a significant change in payment, I said carefully. The credit card that was used is under investigation for fraud. Jennifer's expression shifted. Fraud. Someone has been using my card without authorization. My bank is working with the police, but in the meantime, all charges are being disputed, including this 1 inch. The color drained from Jennifer's face. I don't understand. Mr. Patterson said you were aware of the purchase. He said it was a gift. Mr. Patterson doesn't have authorization to use my card. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank's fraud department number. You'll want to contact them directly. I've already filed the dispute paperwork. All fraudulent charges will be reversed within 5 business days. Jennifer stared at the phone number, then back at the dress photos. But the wedding is in 3 weeks. If the payment is reversed, we'll have to cancel the order. The dress is already being altered to Ms. Rivera's measurements. I understand this is inconvenient. Perhaps Mr. Patterson and Ms. Rivera can work out alternative payment arrangements. I stood to leave, then turned back, as if something had just occurred to me. Oh, and Jennifer? You might want to verify payment methods more carefully in the future. This kind of fraud is becoming increasingly common. The drive home felt different. Lighter. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally remembered how to exhale. My phone started ringing as I pulled into the driveway. Marcus. What did you do? His voice was tight with barely controlled rage. I reported fraudulent charges on my credit card, like any responsible adult would do. You know damn well that wasn't fraud. Really? Because I don't remember authorizing a $4,000 charge for your mistress's wedding dress. Do you have my signature somewhere? My explicit written consent. Silence. I could almost hear him thinking, working through the legal implications.
This is petty, Sarah.
Even for you. Petty would be keying your car or posting your affair on social media. This is just basic financial responsibility. The dress is already being altered. They can't return it. Then I guess you and Cristina better figure out how to pay for it. Together. Like the happy couple you are. I hung up before he could respond. The next few days were a masterclass in controlled chaos. Marcus tried everything.
Threats.
Guilt. Promises to work things out if I just reversed the charge. He even sent Christina to the house once. She stood on my doorstep in designer jeans and perfect makeup, looking young and nervous and absolutely nothing like the homewrecker I'd imagized in my mind. Mrs. Patterson?
I'm Christina.
I think we need to talk. I studied her through the screen door. Up close, she looked tired.
Stressed.
The reality of the situation was apparently hitting her harder than she'd expected. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Christina.
Please. This is all such a mess.
I never wanted to hurt you. That almost made me laugh. You never wanted to hurt me, but you were perfectly happy to steal my husband and use my money to buy your wedding dress. I didn't know about the credit card thing. Marcus said you knew. He said you were okay with everything. The desperation in her voice was almost pathetic. Almost. Marcus says a lot of things, doesn't he? Did he tell you he was unhappily married? That we hadn't been intimate in years? That I was cold and career-obsessed and didn't understand him? Her face went white. Apparently Marcus had been using the same script he'd probably used on every woman before her. Did he mention that we were trying to have a baby? That I'd been taking fertility treatments for the past year? That the stress of that process was probably why I lost my job? Christina's hand went to her throat. He said you didn't want children. Funny how these details change depending on the audience. I started to close the door, then paused. Christina? A piece of advice from someone who's been where you are. When a man lies to his wife for 2 years, he's not suddenly going to become honest with you. The dress is the least of your problems. The door clicked shut between us, and I watched through the window as she stood there for a long moment before walking slowly back to her car.
My phone rang that evening.
Marcus again. You're being cruel to her. Christina doesn't deserve this. You're right, I said. She doesn't deserve to marry a liar who uses other people's money to buy her gifts. She could do much better. The bank is demanding proof of fraud charges. They want documentation. I'm happy to provide documentation. Should I start with the credit card statements from the past 2 years showing all the romantic dinners you charged while I was home thinking you were working late? Or would you prefer the hotel receipts? I found those quite illuminating. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. What do you want, Sarah? Finally, the real question. I want a fair divorce settlement. 50-50 split of assets. Alimony until I find new employment. And I want you to admit what you did.
Fine.
I'll have my lawyer draw up revised papers. I'm not done. I also want a written apology. To me and to Christina. Because she's right, Marcus. She doesn't deserve this either. She deserves to know exactly who she's marrying. I hung up and poured myself a glass of wine. The first one I'd enjoyed in years. The apology letter arrived 3 days later. 2 pages of legal language that basically admitted to adultery, financial deception, and emotional abuse. Marcus's lawyer had clearly written it, but Marcus had signed it. I made copies. Lots of copies. Christina called that afternoon. Did you really make him write letters? I thought you should know what kind of man you're marrying. Knowledge is power, Christina. The wedding is off. I can't. After everything he admitted to, I can't trust him.
I'm sorry.
I know this is painful.
Are you?
Sorry, I mean. I considered the question. Was I sorry that a young woman's heart was breaking?
Yes.
Was I sorry that she discovered the truth before legally binding herself to a liar?
No.
I'm sorry you got hurt, but I'm not sorry you found out now instead of 15 years from now. She laughed, but it sounded like crying. He told me you were bitter and vindictive. Maybe I am, but I'm also right. What happens now? To the dress, I mean. Bella said they can't return it since it was altered, but they can't sell it either since the payment was disputed. An idea began forming in my mind. Dangerous and perfect and probably completely insane. What size are you, Christina?
8. Why?
I'm a size 10, but alterations work both ways. I think I have a use for that dress. The plan came together like pieces of a puzzle I'd been working on subconsciously for weeks. Marcus's law firm was having their annual charity gala next Friday. Black tie event. All the partners and their wives would be there, including the partners who'd been writing Marcus up for his recent work performance issues. Apparently affairs were distracting. Who knew? I called Bella's and arranged to purchase the dress. Full price. My money this time. Are you sure about this, Mrs. Patterson? Jennifer asked when I came for the final fitting. It's quite unusual to buy a dress that was ordered for someone else. Sometimes unusual circumstances call for unusual solutions. The dress fit perfectly after the alterations. It was even more beautiful than the photos suggested. The kind of dress that made a statement. The kind of dress you remembered. Friday night arrived with unseasonable warmth and clear skies. Perfect weather for an outdoor gala. Perfect weather for making an entrance. I arrived fashionably late, when the cocktail hour was in full swing, and everyone had already had a drink or two. The dress moved like liquid silk as I walked through the crowd, and I could feel heads turning in my wake. Marcus was standing near the bar with several senior partners. He was laughing at something someone had said, looking relaxed and confident. The man who destroyed our marriage and was about to get away with it clean. He saw me before I reached the group. His face went through a series of expressions.
Surprise.
Recognition. Horror. Sarah? His voice cracked on my name. Hello, Marcus. Gentlemen, I nodded to the partners. Beautiful evening, isn't it? That dress is stunning, said Margaret Williams, the firm's only female partner. Where did you find it? Bella's bridal, actually. It's quite a story. I smiled at Marcus, whose face had gone the color of old paper. Marcus bought it for his fiancée. But then the engagement fell through when she discovered he'd been lying to her about his divorce proceedings. The group went silent. You could have heard a champagne glass hit the marble floor. I decided not to let such a beautiful dress go to waste. After all, Marcus did pay for it with my credit card without permission. Seemed a shame to waste the money. Margaret's eyes were sharp with interest. Your credit card? Financial infidelity, they call it. Apparently, it's grounds for criminal charges in some states. But I decided to handle it privately. After all, people make mistakes when they're under stress. I took a sip of my wine and let that sink in before continuing. The stress of maintaining two relationships can be quite taxing, I imagine. It probably explains Marcus's recent performance issues at work. He's been so distracted. Thomas Morrison, the senior partner, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this somewhere more private. Oh, there's nothing private about it. The divorce papers were filed weeks ago. Everything's quite public record now. I turned to Marcus with a smile that felt like justice. Congratulations, by the way. The settlement terms were exactly what I asked for. Your lawyer was very accommodating once he saw the documentation. Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. Well, Margaret said into the silence, this has certainly been enlightening. Marcus, perhaps we should schedule a meeting for Monday morning. There are some partnership matters we need to discuss. The threat in her voice was unmistakable. I'd heard the same tone from Marcus himself over the years. The sound of consequences arriving at last. If you'll excuse me, I said to the group, I promised to speak with the auction coordinator about donation opportunities. Have a lovely evening. I walked away with my head high and my shoulders back, leaving Marcus to explain himself to his colleagues and superiors. The dress felt like armor, like power, like the best $4,000 I'd never meant to spend. My phone buzzed with a text message as I made my way through the crowd toward the exit. Christina. Saw the photos on social media. You look amazing. Thank you for everything. I smiled and typed back. Thank you for the dress. It served its purpose perfectly. The valet brought my car around, and I slipped him an extra $20 for the speed and service. As I drove away from the hotel, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. I looked different, stronger, like a woman who'd finally remembered her own worth. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. Marcus, of course. You destroyed my career tonight. I told the truth tonight. There's a difference. They're reviewing my partnership status. 20 years of work, Sarah. 20 years down the drain. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? Actions have results. Choices have prices. This isn't over. Yes, Marcus. It is. The divorce is final next week. The settlement is signed. Your secrets are out. There's nothing left to fight about. I hung up and turned off the phone. Inside my house, I poured another glass of wine and sat in my living room, still wearing the wedding dress that had started this whole mess. Tomorrow, I would start looking for a new job in earnest. I would think about dating again someday. I would rebuild my life from the foundation up, the way you have to sometimes when the old structure proves rotten. But tonight, I sat in my stolen dress and my empty house and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Victory tastes like expensive wine and sounds like silence. It feels like a $4,000 dress bought with betrayal money and worn to destroy the man who thought he'd already won. The credit card bill that had shattered my world 3 weeks ago was still on my kitchen counter, but now it looked different. Not like evidence of betrayal, but like a receipt. Proof of purchase for the most expensive lesson Marcus would ever receive. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. But sometimes it's a wedding dress worn to the wrong wedding by the wrong woman for all the right reasons. The house settled around me in comfortable quiet. For the first time in years, I was exactly where I belonged.